Welcome to the Dogger Pass podcast. I'm your host, Dan Tom, at Dan Tom MMA. Analyst is work you can find all across the internet. But on this here program, the Dogger Pass podcast, where am I today? We break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today, tonight. Whenever you listen to this, hopefully it's before the fight. And, of course, we're the fight in question. Well, it's a UFC Fight Night 261, UFC Rio, UFC Fight Night, Oliveira versus Gamrot. And to break it down for me from top to bottom, as usual, got to bring in the co-hostess with the most, is my man at Madlab, Mike, Madlab MMA. I found out, of course, the madlabmma.com. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, dude? I'm good card last week, fun. I know I was getting shit in the comments about my microphone last week. If they said it looked like Battlestar Galactica or something. Well, I got hardwired now. Now we're hardwired, so hopefully you guys don't see my mouth traveling away from the audio. That, like I said, you said that DT was cutting me off. It wasn't him. It was my Wi-Fi in this studio. So I'm hardwired in. Hopefully we have a good show and there's no lagging.
Yeah, man. Well, you look good. You sound good. Now let's pick good. I don't know. I was
Death
trying
Star,
to
not Battlestar. Yeah. Death Star.
The Death Star, decelerate. They say look good, feel good, fight good. You look good, you sound good, Mike. Hopefully we can pick good. Coming off of a fun card, ended on a strong note. Our consensus dog in the main event hit. Our consensus dog elsewhere didn't, although our analysis was looking good, of course, until it wasn't. That is the game we play. But yeah, Poatan, we're not going to spend too much time on it. Yeah, but Poatan did get his title back last week in a big UFC 320. Thank you for everybody who joined us, commented, shared the show. Really appreciate it. And we got back on track with our consensus underdogs in the main event there, Mike.
Yeah, man, that was a listen. I got to be honest with you. I went back and I listened to. Sometimes I'll do that. I'll go back and listen to our analysis of certain fights. And I went back and I listened to the Pereira breakdown that we both did after the fight. And I mean, we couldn't have broken it out any better. I know there was people like in the comments and stuff saying, "Imagine, not talking about the fight and talking about an actual narrative." Well, I mean, yeah, imagine that the narrative actually came true. We said that he didn't look like he was there the last fight. He needed to make minute adjustments to his game plan. Right. He couldn't be on his back foot. He did everything kind of we wanted him to do, and he made it easier. He made it look easier than I thought, to be honest with you. But as soon as he came out firing like that, I said, this is a wrap. He's winning this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to defend us, I will say we are a lot less narrative and more analysis, although this show, we're going to try to speed it up for you guys. So it might be a little more narrative, but in our defense, not only are we not as much narrative and actual facts, I actually did, we did, I should say, we actually tethered our narrative, I would say, Mike, to actual facts in the performance. We're not ones to, nor should you be, believing everything a fighter says. And all fighters come in injured, whether we know it or not. So that's like kind of a tricky thing. I know there's injury calls now on the other side after this fight, right? And it's tough. There wasn't a lot to dissect, but we had 5 rounds to dissect, and you could clearly see, especially if you go look at my Southpaw reports, it was not the same Pereira in the stance pairing and everything. And so it was one of those very few times, because Mike, I know I can speak for you on this. You're not one to go believe everything you hear, much less from these fighters, right? That being said, there are some times where, you know what? There's some legitimacy to that, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, we've discussed this offline. I have, kind of a little bit of a route into that camp. You know what I mean? So I got some, pretty good intel going forward through where he was, how he was training and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say I told you it would happen like that.
Right.
I thought he would win, but I didn't think it would happen that quick. That, I mean, he literally just like he rolled him over.
Yeah, absolutely. And credit to the people in comments, again, who come clean every week, whether it's, I want to shout out my guy, Sean Overtime. Also that guy, St. Bilal out there. He'll give us some shit friendly, which is all welcome. Feel free, pile it on the comments. But I appreciate those who show up and keep that same energy. And, when we do win, they'll give us our props for it. So I want to say I appreciate those people. It's all fun. No problems here. Much love, if anything. And I will say, just to take my medicine real quick before we move on, I think, dude, I've lost like 6 out of my last 7 cards. I'm on a terrible streak right now.
Well, so you won. You're 2-0 head to head against me now.
Yeah, I'm winning the bets that don't count, Mike. But for my bankroll, I tweeted that out because that was the whole night was full of, whoever was winning early, if you were live betting the person losing, you made banks at UFC 320 because the whole card, like literally 80% of the card was one fighter cruising, probably exactly how me and Mike predicted on this show. And then it just turned around. And I said, for the our head-to-head bet, I'm like, if only I had this luck when it counted. And I know people hate when I say that, but sure enough, the exact opposite happened for the bets that counted. So we'll leave it at that. I just wanted to make sure that I'm owning up to my losses here. People give me crap, but it's more than due. So I just want to make sure I'm owning up to it before we push on to another card, which, man, like, I don't know. I understand why I'm not confident, Mike, with my record that I just said, but I don't know how anybody is going to be too confident in this card. We'll get to it. I'll tell you the spots that I didn't do as much analysis, which is a little more for my normal prep. But in my defense, A, it'll make the show faster. B, you guys don't seem to give a shit about the analysis. C, my results certainly don't give a shit about analysis. And D, the fights that I did give the normal comb through, I'll tell you, Mike, the analysis on some of these fights, it didn't help me anymore. It actually made me more almost clouded, including the main event, which we're going to get to right now. Of course, that is Charles Oliveira versus not Rafael Fiziev. Nope, in steps Mateusz Gamrot on roughly 3 weeks' notice. Gamer Gamrot will be the other side of this. Of course, it opened with Charles Oliveira as a slight favorite, -125. Money has steadily trickled in on Gamrot, pushing this to pick'em price tags, -110 across the board, over 3.5 +100, under 3.5 -120. No rematch stats, no southpaw stats for me to set the table with you, but we both are pretty well versed in these fighters. We came off picking both their last fights correctly, of course, fading one of them, unfortunately, in Bronx, and picking the other right in a buy low spot in Gamrot. But we gotta, I gotta try to do my best, Mike, to take my Bronx bias off the table. And then, when a fighter wins bets for you, there's an inherent bias there that we all have to admit to. So I gotta do my best to get my Gamrot love off the table and break this down as fairly as possible. Mike, I imagine you did the same. Where did you end up, buddy?
Yeah, man, this is a very interesting fight. Like I said, like DT said, there's going to be some fights where I'm going to kind of break in and break down and get a little bit more detailed. And there's going to be some fights that I'm just not, because I don't believe in just filling with fluff for no reason. But this is a fight that's interesting, and you got to take a lot of factors in this fight, and you got to kind of put them all together. And it's going to be your job, because it's a really this kind of a fight, and the line shows that, where you're most confident. And for me, when you look at Gamrot, you're looking at a guy who kind of runs downhill. That's when he has his most success. When he's getting the pace that he wants, he's getting, putting you on your back foot and stuff like that. And then when you look at that matched up on the other side against someone like Oliveira, who obviously we could say that the guy has taken, a couple rungs down in his performances. He's he's one of the most opportunistic submission artists that we've seen in decades. And that kind of plays into the hands of him a little bit. When you get a guy like Gamrot, who's, he can take a bad shot, he is sometimes known to make some very odd decisions. And it just takes one bad decision. It takes one bad decision, one bad move, be in the wrong place at the wrong time with someone like Charles Oliveira, and he can have a horrible performance for 2 rounds, 3 rounds, almost like Yuri. Like, just what is up with him? But then you give him that one opportunity where maybe you lead with your head, or you expose your neck, or you give him something that he sees on the ground, and you're done. And when he locks something in, even if you're working your way out, he has so many different alternative transitions to one submission that's very, very hard to escape those things. So it's almost like stepping on the landmine with him. You got to go 25 minutes without stepping on the landmine, unless you catch him on his chin. He's knocked down several times in his fights. And a lot of times the reason why you don't finish Chucky Olives is because you clip him, you put him down, and then what's the one thing instinctually that you want to do? You want to jump. You want to jump on top of him. You want to finish him. The reason why he does recover so quick, and the reason why sometimes you can't get him out of there, is because a lot of fighters will not jump into his guard. They will allow him back up. So now you're giving him another opportunity. And Gamrot's got to be careful for that. Be careful of that. I just think that, like I said, there's something about Gamrot's game that I feel like he can neutralize some of these opportunistic subs. He's got to be on his P's and Q's. He's got to continue to run downhill. He's got to try to match Chucky Olives with the striking. When he is wrestling, he's got to be very position before submission, all positional wrestling. Just really, really mind your P's and Q's. Watch where your limbs are at all times. Stay heavy. and just take that game away from him. And if he does that, I think Gamrot does win this fight. It does scare me. So there's no confidence in this pick at all. Because like I said, he could win 4 rounds, and then in the 5th round, he makes a major mistake, and then Oliveira, jumps guillotine or something like that, and it's over. So give me Gamrot. I'm going to say Gamrot in probably a decision, maybe a later finish, 4th or 5th round, but no clear confidence on this pick at all.
Yeah, I don't blame you, and I'm glad you stated that, because it makes me feel less crazy when someone as sharp as yourself doesn't feel, I don't want to say it doesn't feel sharp, but doesn't feel solid on a pick, which, by the way, folks, that's perfectly okay. I know people like, oh, waffling and this and that. And I know some people purposely waffle for strategy. It's like we all seen the type, right? They only post their wins, they only do this, they only that, and this and that. But like me and Mike tell you, there are some fights, folks. It's legitimately. Not only should you not be mad if someone's on the fence, you should actually be happy, because at least they're being honest. It means they're being honest with you, right? It's when you have these fights that are kind of back and forth, and you have one person going, oh, it's this way no matter what. Like, that's the dangerous thing, right? And, those people will probably cash and brag about it on the timeline. But if we're being honest, like, was that the most, was that the most responsible play? Was that the fight we could really be confident on? And like I always say, picks, plays, and analysis are all 3 different things, right? And man, this is one where my pick, Mike, it's like waffling. As I would watch more tape, and then I'd waffle, on this side, then I'd waffle to that side. And the basic breakdown of this fight for me comes down to, from a betting analysis, from a pick, we'll get to the pick here in a second. From a betting analysis, it's Oliveira late, and it's Oliveira early and Gamrot late. What you said with your analysis was spot on, as far as, you give Oliveira that position, he will take it. I know Chandler's kind of washed, but he took his back in round 4. I know he didn't have too much energy to do stuff with it, which he really should have sold harder to try to get that split decision win, despite Arman Tsarukyan being the rightful winner there. But we saw him, he locked up, to your point, Mike, right at the end of round 3, he's locking that up. But I didn't know how much energy he had. But then I'd go and watch Gamrot, and I would see him clock checking in fights that he didn't take on short notice. In round 3, like his last fight that we got him in a buy low spot. Now, granted, did he really look that tired? No, he actually turned it up from the last half round on Ludovic Klein, and was finishing with heavy ground and pound, and didn't look to be tiring. It looked like he could have done that for another round. So I don't know how much to weigh into that either, much less him going in on short notice, because, Gamrot's tricky. He's won fights that he's probably lost, right? Like the Arman Tsarukyan fight, even the Jalen Turner fight, right? Where he's lost fights that, you can make an argument that he won. Very happy for Dan Hooker. No issues with him getting that decision there, by the way. But that was a fight where, like, Gamrot actually showed better striking than he had in a lot of his fights, to his credit. And part of his striking that he does have, Mike, is something that Oliveira does need to worry about, even though he's not a knockout striker. What troubles Oliveira? Well, Oliveira, like Gaethje, I feel like they're fighters that are blind in there. That's why they're so reliant on touching you, collar ties, leg kicks. They're so dangerous from there, but they both can get like really clock clean by like what seems like obvious shots. It's because they're both guys who, like me, they wear glasses. I don't know how their vision is. Clearly not as great without them, right? And same thing with Gaethje, same with Oliveira, is fighters that have those timing changeups and speed changeups wreak havoc on them. And Gamrot does have that for his striking. Obviously, you pointed out for his grappling, he's got to watch his head placement. But once he's on top, I'm a big Duke Bronx fan, but his guard and guards in general are overrated in MMA, right? Percentage-wise, especially lately in more relevant modern times. And Gamrot knows what to do from there. And, even guys like, I'm a big Charles Duke Bronx fan, but like, I didn't pick against him forever. Until you have to go back to like Paul Felder, right? Or something like that, because even Paul Felder, underrated ground and pound. Fighters that have ground and pound that can get on top can actually get a decent amount done against Oliveira. Kevin Lee kind of dropped the ball there. He was kind of toward the end of his run. Oliveira was able to use leg entanglements, not leg locks, but leg entanglements to debase and get back to his feet. We saw kind of Beneil do similar, but again, Beneil didn't, even though he rightfully won that fight against Gamrot, I wasn't someone that was upset about that by any means. If you look at it, it was a competitive fight, and B, Gamrot is a leg lock guy himself, so it's not like it's going to trump Gamrot with it, like you would maybe like a traditional American wrestler who's foot heavy and leg lock ignorant, right? So I don't know how much that's going to work. And Dariush, who has competitive jiu-jitsu with Oliveira, I know they Oliveira beat him, and I picked him to beat Dariush, but Dariush actually is better wrestling than Oliveira. Dariush doesn't get enough credit. Oliveira's wrestling can be underrated, but Dariush's wrestling is even better and even more underrated. And that was a huge key for him defeating Gamrot. So I've got tons of worries for Oliveira as an Oliveira fan. He's the more proven guy. He's got pathways to victory. We've seen, tall, lanky guys, southpaws or not, always left-sided strikes hitting him. We know Charles Oliveira's left hook is one of his best shots. He's got that one of the hardest right hands, down the pike as well. He's got knees that we've seen trouble Gamrot before. The front chokes threat galore. So it's all Charles Oliveira all day. If you want to bet Charles rounds 1 and 2, 1-2 sub, that's the only thing that I'm looking to do right here for this fight. And then betting either Gamrot 2 through 4 or 3 through 5. Now, a high chance he wins the decision, which is why if you see a plus money on either of these guys, first of all, I don't blame you for taking either shot. But for the Gamrot side in particular, I like that if you're on the Gamrot side, you want to have some action on this fight. Don't mind you taking him if you can find something like plus money, even if it's just a plus 100 even money shot, because that'll cover the decision coverage, right, of equity there. But I genuinely think Gamrot can put the pace, and we'll kind of need to put the pace earlier because, again, I don't know how good a shape he's coming in 3 weeks. Maybe he starts slagging round 5 and Mike's point becomes very live and Charles Oliveira is back in the fight, So again, decide maybe rounds 2 through 4. I might go 3 through 5 because the last time I went 2 through 4, Mike, I'm going to pass it back to you now. The last time I went 2 through 4, I took Fluffy's one of my favorite fighters to bet the late round props on. I used to bet these all the time, folks, but now I really try to wait until we have that stylistic archetype. We've got the Fluffy or the Gamrot grinder with cardio versus the guy who's opportunistic and dangerous, but we've seen him fall apart, right? That's the archetype you want to look to attack. When I attacked it with Fluffy and Michel Pereira, I usually always go 3 through 5, right? But I went rounds 2 through 4 because I didn't think Michel Pereira could last that long, Mike. And sure enough, it got done in round 5. And it almost got done in round 2 to justify my analysis ad there. But of course, I had to twist it, right? We'll see what I end up on. We'll see what side or I pour money on. But right now, I'm just playing the rounds, baby. Charles 1 and 2, Gamrot 3 through 5. And for the sake of the show, Mike, man, I'm tempted to pick against my guy so bad here. But I'm going to take the Poussey way out, and I'm going to stick with the more proven product. Oliveira is my official pick, but Gamrot's super live here. What do you think of those round props? And it was my analysis off there, Mike.
Yeah, no, good stuff. I like it. I would probably be a little bit more weary on Oliveira later because Gamrot does get a little sloppy. Like one thing Merab did that was really, really good that he's so good at doing is Merab has a tendency of chaining his takedowns together. Like he's not a blind entry. He'll like grab a leg, and when he grabs that leg, he kind of comes in on the side. He comes in like near your, where there's no visibility in the front. Like that's what Gamrot has to do. But against someone like him, he's got to kind of watch his entries. But the thing with Gamrot is as the fight sometimes gets later, if he's having issues or he's trying to spam takedowns and he's not getting them, or he's in a bit of a dogfight, like he can get sloppy. So I don't know. We're on the other side of this one. I'm taking Gamrot, you're taking Oliveira, but like I said, I'm not shocked in any way, in shape or form. Like if one of them hits dog money, pull the trigger.
Yeah, again, folks, this is a perfect example of what I was talking about. Me and Mike have the opposite picks, right? We're on the opposite picks, but really we're pretty aligned in how we see this fight, which again kind of justifies the both sides narrative. We're not trying to pad any direction. We're not afraid to look stupid or take a big dog, either of us, right? Mike's actually looked really good taking some of these big dogs. So that's not an issue for us, folks. This is just a legit fight where it's really tough to call. And live bettors, I think, are going to have a lot of entries. I will say one last thing just to finish it off, Mike, and to give credence to your sloppy note on Gamrot possibly giving up something late. I hate doing the Willem Dafoe choose Parker that they make us do when they don't offer you an inside the distance line or a good one. You're often having to choose between KO and submission. So even though Oliveira hits hard and we see Gamrot get dropped like in every round and in all these fights and whatnot, I don't think whether it's a ground and pound or a one-shot KO, I don't think either of them are likely because Gamrot is so hardwired when he gets dropped that he shoots that it's going to be like a club and sub that if Oliveira gets it done. So I'm probably going to put Oliveira by subbing my round robin even if, let's just say, even if I get like a number I can't refuse, like I get a Gamrot plus 105, I'm like, God damn, I probably got to hit that, don't I? Again, I'm going to be both sides in for a reason, folks. I'm owning it. I've shown my reasons behind it, but I think that Oliveira by sub, regardless, will be in my round robin, because if he does get it done past rounds 1 and 2, it'll probably be by catching a sub or something like that. Do you see what I'm saying, Mike? And does that make sense? And what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's correct? Sub?
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So hopefully that answers some questions as far as possibilities for you prop players and cheeky of high value number hitters out there. But let's move it on to the co-main event. Excited to talk about this fight and another one too. But we got Deiveson, Figueiredo. He's coming in as an underdog, plus 250 to Montel, not Jordan, Jackson, minus 320 for the future lightweight, still somehow fighting at bantamweight. Minus 200 is your over 2.5 rounds for the total. And the opposite side of that total is an under 2.5 rounds, sitting at plus 175. Man, I mean, I want to say maybe the totals catch my eye more than a number, because I don't like the number. I don't disagree with who's favorite. I know, cue the meme, like sensible chalk, with the boyfriend cheating on the girlfriend by checking out the girl. It's like sensible chalk, Dan Tom, and old Brazilian dogs at plus money. And that's who I'm looking at, right? Like, I get it, folks. I already have people in my DMs going, oh, no, is Deiveson going to be a soggy dick special? Shout out to my guy, Pepe. And you know what, man? It may seem like that. And maybe I throw him, because I want to stay the hell away from this fight. And the number is so big. Maybe I throw Dice Duguero in the round robin if I'm having trouble filling legs, which I think I will this week. But outside of that, man, not only do I not want anything to do with this fight, I'm not even going to pick my guy. I'm going to pick one of my most hated fighters. So 2 of my most hated fighters, Mike, and you'll be the ultimate test on this, because you are the barometer. You are the more authority on this than I am, as far as guys using their size to bully and where guys belong in their weight classes. You're really great at sizing people's up frame and how much they can potentially carry, right? And Montel Jackson has always been a guy that has just been on my fade list. I talk about it all the time. From Corey Hill back in the day at Tough, 6'3" lightweight, snapping his shin. Anderson Silva snapping his shin. It was these tall, lanky guys, right? But as we saw, as the weight class expanded lower and fighters continued to kill themselves, these tall guys cutting to these even lower weight classes under 155, what we've seen trends from the Andre Uls of the world, with both his cardio and gas tank falling apart, to Sean O'Malley, to not so much his cardio, but it's the physical frailty. Things are snapping, right? Who is another tall, lanky guy? Let's even go. We just went 45s. We went 35 tweeners, 35s. Now let's just go down to 25s. Brandon Royval, with his shoulder popping out and all the things popping out, and the durability kind of questionable, right? To his skill levels, dropping key rounds, whether it's his arm popping out or him getting knocked down, right? These are things that only get worse too when what is the rule of my canary in the coal mine, folks? When not only you're doing that, but you're doing that into your 30s, 31, 32. Montel Jackson, 33. He's got the hands of the size of Francis Ngannou, and this and that. And yes, he has showed some impressive glimpse. And even though I hate Mike, that whole, let's be honest, it's based on pigmentation, not actual analysis here, folks. When they do the athletic and explosive guy, we all know the guys they do that to. And you know what? In Jackson's defense, he actually is very athletic. You look at this guy's get-up game, his hand control. Like, I get it. I'm not denying these things. But what have we really seen? Him knocking out old-ass Ronnie Yaya, him knocking out, like, old-ass dudes who he's supposed to, which he might do again with this fight, because not only is it age and size, stylistically, too, this is a tough match for Figueiredo. And I'm a guy who was banging on the drum that Figueiredo is a natural bantamweight. I was saying that all the way while people were jerking him off on his 125 run, right? And I was right about that. That being said, not even I am going to pretend they're going to be anywhere close in size on this one. So, yeah, big hater on the size bullies who, that's another reason why don't we see Montel Jackson? Well, because if you guys got getting mad at me for using the word size bully, maybe you see that Montel Jackson was the other fighter we're going to talk about. Maybe the only reason why they fight once a year is because they're spending the whole year weight cutting. So yeah, I get Montel Jackson, and I'm just hoping I don't be mad if he wins. I'll be mad if he wins quick because we will have learned nothing. I know he's just coming off of a 3-round fight with Daniel Marcos, and I know I picked Daniel Marcos, but that's a hard sample, even if we could go back and look at it, which, by the way, Mike, I'm real curious to see which shows this week, folks, are going to be honest about being able to do their research, because a lot of our sites that we were using for these most recent fights are not available. So people claiming or overlooking that are lying and being disingenuous, by the way. But I'm being honest here, going off memory with that Marcos fight, was not even impressed with that being a 3-rounder, and Marcos didn't even fight to his potential either. So it's like, how much can we really take from that? But yeah, sorry for that rant, Mike. Feel free to call me out on whatever you want, buddy. You know I respect your opinion. I'm picking Montel Jackson here, but clearly, if you didn't get it, I hate this fight.
Yeah, no, I look at the, I we're different with Montel. I was really high on Montel Jackson coming in. I had a pretty good source talking to me and telling me about this kid's wrestling, believe it or not, how good of a wrestler he was, how he was literally toying with Tyron Woodley on the mat. And you can say what you want about Tyron Woodley, the guy can fucking wrestle.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? So when he came in, I had high expectations for him. And then, I started seeing, he's winning fights, but he looks like he's on his Xanax. It looks like he doesn't even want to be there sometimes. It almost looks like you take him down, there's no desperation. He gets back up, he does his thing, but it's almost like he does it effortlessly. He's like, all right, I got to get up now. And he'll get up. It's like the guy's ceiling is ridiculous. Like, I really do think this guy's ceiling is ridiculous, but I do question his motivation sometimes. I really, really do. Now, as time is going on, I mean, he's shown a little bit more motivation, but the crazy thing is I'm like really waiting to see his wrestling accolades in there, like to see what he does, because he doesn't do it. He's, the whole thing with the hands, and he's got power, and he's knocking dudes out, and he's having success in that situation. So like, he's kind of like, if it's not fixed, I'm not going to broke it. If it's not broke, I'm not going to fix it unless I need to. But this is a guy who, if he really needed to wrestle, and he really needed to, jump in the sandbox with you, he absolutely can, especially all the things that I've heard about this guy's, wrestling. And I'm not even talking about his athletic ability. I'm just talking about his size, his strength, his somatotype, the weight bully, that he has within him. So it's like, when I think about all that, and I'm like, if I know I haven't seen this guy's ceiling, it's up to him to show that. Like, I mean, you can have all the potential in the world, but if you don't know how to tap into it and kind of expose it in concert, it really doesn't matter. There's plenty of fighters like that. But the ceiling is there. And I just look at this fight, and I look at Deiveson Figueiredo, who I love. I mean, I love Figueiredo. I think he's a dog. But at the end of the day, this is just way too much for him. This is just way too much for him. This like, unless Montel Jackson comes into this fight on a Xanax, like on a natural Xanax, where he's kind of behind and he's just not really in no desperation mode. If he comes in clocked in for this fight, I don't see where Figueiredo beats him. I don't see. I mean, yeah, I know he's got power and stuff, but you still got to get inside on him. He's not going to bully him around the cage. Where does he really beat him? Like, where does he actually beat Montel Jackson? So I think this is either going to be Montel Jackson making this closer than it should be because of Montel Jackson.
Yes, yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Not because of anything
Sure.
Figueiredo's doing. It's just like, we're like, what are you doing? Like,
Yep.
I mean, this is crazy. Or Montel Jackson is going to absolutely roll him. Like, literally just it's just going to be a fight where we're watching. We're like, this is fucking ridiculous. 30-27 or maybe a finish. Or so I like Montel Jackson. But like I said, the only thing I do question with him is his want to be in there sometimes. You know what I mean? And like the ability to step on the gas. But there's no situation where I see Figueiredo beating him unless he gets like really sloppy, lackadaisical, and just appears like he doesn't want to be there. So give me Montel Jackson, but I don't go near minus 400s and minus 360s.
Yeah, absolutely. Always hard to tell when Montel Jackson's on. He's a little more active on socials, but still training out of his camp in Minnesota. So outside of those, maybe cross training, random times like with Woodley, which I believe, by the way, especially since according to my measurements, Mike, they're only one weight class apart, right? So that's good intel. And yeah, the wrestling is actually what I was impressed most about him and want to see more from him more. And I'm just going to wait until we have someone who makes it a dogfight, a durable dog who fights for your money. Like, that's the kind of guy you want to fade against, you want to take a shot against Montel Jackson, not Figgy. Figgy, outside of a leg kick club and sub, I don't see how he wins the fight. Outside of, Montel giving it away, which is crazy to say because we haven't seen as much of him. So hence my point in this fight being just silly, but I agree with the favorite. All right, let's move on to the next fight. Speaking of size bullies, Vicente Luque, I thought he was moving up to middleweight when I saw this opponent. Vicente Luque taking on former lightweight, natural middleweight, Yoel Alvarez. Yoel Alvarez minus 550 for that middle. Tell me that's not a fucking middleweight frame, Mike. I'm going to get to you in a second, Mike. Oh, God, this freaking guy. Come back on Luque, plus 375 as the underdog. Totals, they're expecting violence, Mike. 1.5 total. Over 1.5 plus 115. Under 1.5 minus 135. I don't blame them, even though Vicente Luque has not been the violence king that we all fell in love with. It may only take one side of this equation to create that violence, because say what you will about Yoel Alvarez and him. Also, why does Yoel Alvarez only fight once a year? But it's because he's an athletic weight bully that spends the whole year cutting down to 155. That's why
he's a good athletic weight bully, though.
He is. I'm picking him here. Spoiler alert. But tell me, Mike, not only is this guy should have been moving up to, well, he's a natural middleweight. Like, he's not 6'3" and skinny. Like, Mike, you could speak more than me. I'm going to throw it to you immediately here. I'm ignorant, and I can tell that frame is a middle. You could put muscle on. That is a thick frame, right? That's not a lightweight frame, right? More middleweight than even welterweight, maybe.
No, yeah, 100%. But here's my thing with that. It's like we can talk about that all day,
right.
But at the end of the day, if the commission is giving you a leash to do that, and you have the ability to do that, why wouldn't you do that? Like, if you have the ability to go in there and cut weight, say to 155, and then you hydrate up because you're a bigger person to 185 by fight time, you take every advantage that you can take. So if you physically can do it, I don't have to agree with it. You don't have to agree with it. But if you physically can do it and you could still perform and come in kind of like bigger than the other guy, and you have that advantage going out of the gate, take advantage of it all day. You know what I mean?
Sure. I don't disagree.
It's when you start missing weight, or you're losing fights, or you look like a skeleton then that's when you're like, all right, now you're just doing this to be ridiculous. But if you can do it, and you can do it in a healthy manner, even though it's a struggle, and you can go in there and you're performing at a high level, I would do it.
No, I don't disagree with that. But here's my argument, with which stands true, I think, with Yoel Alvarez, who's 32, and Montel Jackson, who's 33, is that these guys only are now getting kind of Brazilian household names toward, I'm the least ageist guy, but we all know that, this space is like, more pedophilic than Sandusky when it comes to scouting talent. And we all know that 28 to 34 is your natural prime. So for me, I actually would argue that not only is it diminishing returns, which we don't know, only the fighters really know, right? I think you could argue that maybe more for Yoel Alvarez, who has had some questionable performances, right? Down at lightweight, even though the skill is clearly there. The fact is, it's like, what were you doing? You were costing. So you're costing. So let's just say we are say I am the opposite. I'm on the hype Montel Jackson, the hype Yoel Alvarez train. I would still be on my stance. I would still be on the damn Tom stance, because I'm a fan, even more so because I'm like, selfishly, I'm not getting to see these fighters. Unselfishly, they're not getting to make as much money for their pocket if they're spending all year cutting down to a weight class. And then C, God forbid the diminishing returns, whatever career cut shortening they're doing, on top of the career wasting that they're doing, right? You're kind of meeting those in the middle. You're giving yourself a more finite window in a sport that already has a finite window, when at the end of the day, you're a fucking massive dude who's like better looking, bigger, more athletic and skillful than everybody above your weight class, yet you're worried about spending all year getting down to one weight class. That's my argument. So that's my argument when it comes to these guys, for their sakes. Forget my stupid biases, right? That being said, Mike, dude, Yoel Alvarez he is not a guy I would want to fight, man. He is absolute, killer. He's got skills. He's not just all big in there. He can finish on the floor, can finish on the feet. Super dynamic. I'm gonna pick him here, but again, the money line, I imagine inside the distance lines, they're making it kind of untouchable.
Yeah, the crazy thing about it was, when you think about Yoel Alvarez and you're like, this dude's, he's big for the division. So obviously you don't even need to be like a power puncher, right? To hurt people and sting people at that, once you're that big. But his grappling was like what really impressed me, like some of his transitions and stuff like that. And then you look at it and you're like, well, who the hell's going to submit Vicente Luque? And I thought that going into the Holland fight, I was like, if Holland beats him, he's going to beat him by sharpshooting him, sticking on the outside, just making him look rustic and old. Then he subbed them. And I was like, wait a minute. Now we got to worry about Vicente Luque not performing. We got to worry about Vicente Luque not throwing his hands like he did. We got to worry about his durability. Now we got to also worry about him getting submitted. So it's like, if this fight happened 4 years ago, I'd be all over Vicente Luque. Like back in the Vicente Luque when he fought Bam Bam and stuff like that, like I'd be like, I'm all in on Luque. I just can't, bro. Like I can't. And like I do see paths where Luque might have a little bit of a breath of fresh air and comes in and he looks good and puts Alvarez on his back foot and has some good moments and maybe, you know, has that one shining spot like some of these veterans often do when you look like when you think they're washed and all of a sudden you're like, dude, you just beat Joel Alvarez. So I could see it. Like I wouldn't be completely blown away, but to be educated and to have an educated pick, you're looking at a Joel Alvarez who's hot as fucking fire right now. And you got Luque, who's still trying to find out who he really is at this point in his career. So I got to go Joel Alvarez. I don't like the line. Like I said, I think that line is a little bit too disrespectful. But just gauging of what I see right now, and it's sad to say because I like Luque a lot, but I got to go Joel Alvarez.
Yeah, and again, my only hope here, like the last fight, I just hope we see more of these guys, right? Like, believe me, I don't want to be. I'm not trying to hate on these guys. Like, I would love to see more of them. Especially Joel Alvarez. Now that he's in a more natural weight class, I think we're going to get a more honest look at him. But how honest is the look going to be against Vicente Luque, the ghost of him? Yeah, I don't know, folks. You're having to choose Parker here between the only plus money you're getting is KO sub. And not that I would like to make that choice, but if you're curious, just to get, you know, some inkling which way to go, I would probably, gun in my head, I would say KO then sub. But to Mike's point, Luque is just as subbable these days.
Yeah, it's crazy to me, bro. It's crazy to me. But hey, listen, we've seen it 100 times. We've seen it with Andrei Arlovsky. We've seen it with like these guys where we're like, dude, how many times have we seen like Arlovsky when his chin just looked like you could blow on and then all of a sudden, like he has that one fight where he's taking shots and you're like, dude, he just grew a beard overnight. You know, so you never know. Like you really never know. That's why we call it the fight game, and that's why they fight the fight. But it's just I don't see where somebody can come into this fight saying I'm going to take a shot on Luque. No. I just don't see how.
And what makes these last two fights even crappier, folks, from a betting perspective, forget my whole size bias bullshit, is that these are dogs you can't even take the points handicaps on. And I'm the points handicap king over here. Yeah, Mr. I call 3 points handicaps. I only played 2 of them. And of course, the one that hit, you guys know the story there. Anyway, there are no points handicaps to even be teased on this one, as well as live betting too. You're not even going to really have, if you look at the way these matchups are probably playing out, you're probably not even getting live betting windows on either side. You know what I'm saying? So it's, and then again, I say I hate these matchups for a reason. I'm not trying to be an asshole here, folks. So let's move to the next one. Again, you have to like it, but I always bring facts to my opinions. You can't say that I don't do that. Jhonata Diniz versus Mario Pinto. Why Pinto? Why not? Mike, I'm going to be curious if you can quote that movie. We'll get to you in a second here. Of course, we got Jhonata Diniz minus 120. Comeback on Mario Pinto minus 100. Over 1.5 rounds, minus 215. Under 1.5 rounds, plus 185. And before I see if you can pick up that Pinto quote, again, at the risk of sounding annoying, folks, the reason why we sounded so iffy or we gave those caveats we did, it's because this is yet another fight that exemplifies that as far as careful betting this fight. This is a wait and see spot. What are these two products really at? And just like the main event to other fights we've discussed and we'll discuss on this card, a lot of two-way action on this card, folks. A lot of lines flipping on pick-em lines on this. So again, we're not alone here. In other words, the market is agreeing with us for what it's worth. So don't criticize us too hard if we're not as committed and fully throated on these fight night cards as opposed to maybe like a pay-per-view card with much more proven products and set matchups that you usually get with those that we just had, right? Anyways, Mike, do you know the quote that I just said? And more importantly, what's your thoughts on this matchup, buddy?
I don't know the quote that you said. What is it from?
1978 Animal House. You know I like to keep it relevant here.
Oh, damn it, dude. Yeah, all right.
Why Pinto? Why not? John Belushi burps right in his face.
Mr. Blutowski, 0.0.
It's a great scene.
You know, it's this fight. It's listen, guys, it's a heavyweight fight, right? I mean, it's a low-level heavyweight fight. The one thing I will say about Pinto is I think he's a little bit more spry as far as his movement. He's on his toes a little bit more. He does actually move pretty well. I mean, I was watching some of his film. I was like, he's got some good movement. He's for a big guy, and that's great and all good. But when I look at Diniz, it's like I don't hate this guy. Like I really don't. I don't hate this guy. I think this guy is okay for the heavyweight division. I mean, you got to remember the state of the division we're talking about here. But I think he's okay. And I think a big part of his game plan in here should be just diversify things, like really go heavy on the leg kicks, you know, kind of push forward. Don't worry about his movement so much and kind of be the hunter in there. Like, don't worry about kind of mirroring and trying to find them. Like, make your own paths. Go in there, throw leg kicks, push forward, even if you're just walking forward, and just land some big shots. I think the most important thing with heavyweights especially is putting these guys on their back foot. Like, you want to put a heavyweight on his back foot. This way they're not digging in and they're not getting all the leverage they want. I mean, they'll throw haymakers and stuff like that, but I much rather have the guy that's kind of marching downhill. So I like Diniz here. I mean, I'm not super confident here. I think the line can be a little bit more towards Diniz. Like, I saw minus 120. I would line him probably minus 140, minus 145. But like I said, guys, low level heavyweights, like anything can happen. It's right place, right time, wrong spot, wrong time. So give me Diniz here. I think the leg kicking game will be in effect for this one to kind of set things up for him. And there's always upside for a knockout in a heavyweight fight, but who knows?
Mike, whatever our head-to-head ends up being for this card, it's going to be a fun one because we're not super confident in a lot of these are wild-ass fights. So in that sense, it's going to make our head-to-head, no matter what, we end up fun. And you're right, this is lower level heavyweight. And perhaps I should let that make me feel better about making a pick, or make me feel better about not being able to rewatch and run through the comb as I do their most recent fights. Because that's another thing with a lot of these fighters, whether they're recent guys, or we'll talk about guys like Luan Lacerda who haven't been fighting for a minute that are popping up on this card. It's that most recent fight, and Mike talks about this all the time, so I'm preaching to the choir here. But to steal Mike's words, it's most important to watch that last 3, maybe 3 to 5, if you really want to, get a nice view there, a relevant view. And that last fight in particular, I would argue, is more relevant for some of these guys, which is really the irky part here. So going a lot off of memory, right? As far as Mario Pinto's, debut win against a guy that expected him to win. A guy, me, I've never been really too high on these football, great white hopes, so to speak, that MMA keeps posting. Austin Lane was one of them. Not too heavy on him, obviously. He was a big dog, but that one was not too hard to call. And then, as much as it was fun to get behind Alvin Hines, that fight was, pretty wild. You can't let the crowd or Hines' heart, take away the fact that, even though Diniz had some spots where it could be troubling, considering the context, he did what he was supposed to do and stayed in there, which is a lot for a heavyweight. Pinto's been able to stay in there, get late finishes in his regional career, but he's going against another big guy. We saw him on the Contender Series. That size parity kind of like made him a little bit weird at first, but he got around it. But here's the thing I like about Pinto, Mike. And again, it's a low bar, but like we talk about people not knowing how to jab or to jab well, right? In MMA, or use their jab. Like, how about hooking off the jab, right? It's such a basic yet at the same time high level skill that's not used in MMA. Like, when I see a fighter hook off the jab, I'm immediately impressed, Mike. I don't know about you being a boxing guy. So to see it at heavyweight, I'm like, okay, Pinto, I see you. And even though, there's a decent amount to like against Diniz, I think Diniz is the rightful favorite for whatever that's worth, folks. I need some dogs here. I'm going to take a dog. I'm going to take, even though it's not much of a dog, but I'm going to take Pinto, man, for him being able to hook off the jab, Mike.
All right. I like it. I got no arguments there.
Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, it's a low bar. It's really easy to be impressed by some of these guys if they can do something technical at heavyweight.
You also got to remember, too, guys, keep this in mind, too. I know it's heavyweight and the upside to go to get a finish, but it is in Brazil.
Yes. Yep. Very, very true, too, folks. Very true, for whatever that's worth. The crowd's going to be popping and whatnot, something to keep in mind.
So are the judges.
Yep. Something to keep in mind for the Oliveira fight. I know Gamrot always somehow wins fights that he gets dropped in, but maybe he doesn't. Mm-hmm. Maybe he doesn't, right? Yeah. Right. The favor's been going against him lately. Who knows if it even gets that far? But let's go to this main card fight that I'm interested in. Ricardo Ramos. You got Ricardo Ramos coming in as a favorite over Kaan Ofli here. Ricardo Ramos, depending on where you look at him, you can find him at minus 185 in that neighborhood, plus 155 the comeback on Kaan Ofli, over 2.5, minus 250, under 2.5, plus 130. So Ramos got a lot of style, pizzazz, a little rear naked choke, a Charles Oliveira of sorts. He kind of reminded me of, he kind of looks a little fragile, was a submission guy, takes some really kind of bad, like, for as many highlight wins, he also has some really bad losses. We were like, how durable is this guy? What's the ceiling on him? And then you're seeing him, being able to fight through composed decisions. And you're like, okay, is he maturing? Is this like that Oliveira, Jeremy Stevens stage? Is that where kind of he's at right now? Whereas Kaan Ofli, he's very competitive. I know he lost that fight to Myron Santos and a lot. Not that he had a ton of hype on him or anything, but he had a decent amount of backers. I felt like that was more 50-50. And I feel like when that fight happened, Santos like took all of his like aura, so to speak. So Kaan Ofli, you know, sitting there trying to get it back. What country is it? Turkish. Cool flag, that Turkey flag there. Of course, coming off that loss to Mohammed Naimov. I actually don't disagree too much with the odds here. I'm actually surprised people didn't push this favorite the way they pushed others. I don't know if I'm incorrect in saying that, but yeah, I like Ricardo Ramos here as a pick. And even though I'm not hurrying to parlay him, he does look like a good parlay piece price tag wise. I don't know how good of a parlay piece he actually is. I'm curious what your take on this fight is, Mike.
Yeah, you know, Ricardo Ramos, this is the guy who I said he was one of the guys that I always used to say that they took this guy into the UFC way too early. Like they took him prematurely. This kid, I really believe, could have been a lot better if they would have let him cook a little bit. But they took him very, very early. He's got a ton of fights under his belt already. He's still a young guy. And I don't think it's really waged well for him, like in the beginning of his career. So like everyone's like looking at him like, you know, well, how good really was he? But not everybody can be a Max Holloway. Not everybody can come in at such a young age and then do what Max did. Majority of the people, the Sage Northcutts, you know, even Jake Matthews came in too early. Now he's starting to like, you know, catch some notoriety, but even he had trouble in the beginning. So Ricardo Ramos is just a guy I feel like they didn't let him cook enough. Super talented kid, good striker, good grappling, you know, good frame for the division. And then when I look at, you know, Ofli, you're looking at a guy who you're like, okay, well, he's got 2 fights in the UFC. He's 0-2 in the UFC. It's in Brazil. Like, yeah, you want to kind of stay away from narratives here and everything. I mean, but come on, like this is punching you right in the fucking face here, pretty much telling you like this is a Ricardo Ramos fight. You know, the thing with him is like I'm picking him to win the fight, but he does scare me. Like he absolutely 1000% does scare me because he is the type of kid where he will look good until he doesn't anymore. And he's done it numerous times. Sometimes he just completely abandons his game plan. But he's super dangerous. He's got some dynamic, you know, spinning back fists, and we've seen some of the things that he's done, and you know, it's super impressive. But sometimes you got to wonder: is it luck timing? Like, what exactly was that? What did he actually mean to do that? So there's a lot of question marks around Ricardo Ramos, but there's no doubt in my mind that he absolutely should win this fight. So give me Ricardo Ramos here.
Yeah, I'm actually was impressed that he even went to lasted the decision with Chepe Mariscal, because we talked about, you know, archetypes to beat guys like Montel Jackson. You want like a dogged guy who's going to come at you, this or that. And Chepe Mariscal was like an archetype you would want to bet against a guy like Ricardo Ramos. And you know, the fact that he made it to a decision, even I think, even kind of speaks some to his doubters there. Again, I just got burned on a 2-legger parlay. I got burned doing everything. Who am I kidding? So I'm not sure I'm too excited to bet anything on this card, but I will say I feel like Ramos at that number, I feel like you could do something with it. But we'll see. I'll give you guys what I'm looking at as far as the potential legs, so you at least know what to avoid.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the main card opener.
Me too. I mean, be careful with me this week. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? And again,
be careful with this card, guys. That's what I'm going to say.
And again, what more could you ask for, folks? The fact that we're being honest with you, you know what I'm saying? That's what you should want. You want people being honest with you about it. You don't want people telling you it's easy money every week. They're lying to you or trying to sell you something, or both. People that do that. So at least we're being honest here. Lucas Almeida versus Michael Aswell. I'm not trying to throw shade either, by the way. I'm just being honest. You know, that's the space is full of that stuff. We all know that. There's good people out there too. Shout out to you guys. -150 for Michael Aswell, +125 for Lucas Almeida. Over 2.5 -160, under 2.5 +140. So Lucas Almeida is a fighter that I often get confused with another guy who we're going to talk about, who's also on this card, Mike. But Lucas Almeida, obviously, he's a scrappy Brazilian. You know, not too bad. You know, he can be competitive, you know, with the striking there. Yeah, Michael Aswell, who honestly did not really light things up. I know the Blagioki fight, I honestly didn't really come away too impressed with either fighter. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, Mike. Maybe you could fill in some blanks that I'm not seeing here. But off my memory, off their most recent fights, man, I'm not seeing anything that it's not like it's a wide line here, first of all. So they're right in that respect, but I'm not seeing anything to justify any confidence in Aswell as a favorite. Does that mean I'm going to pick Almeida as a dog here? Maybe, but he's not exactly a dog I would want to play either, if that makes sense. Mike, where are you at for this one, bud?
Yeah, both of these guys to me are kind of carbon copies of each other, except for the fact that you got one guy who's 9 years older. You know, he's almost a decade older. When you look at Aswell, I'm not impressed with him at all. Like, I'm really just not. I'm not impressed with him. One thing I did notice on film with him is that he is so hittable. Like, I mean, he is literally, I mean, he puts his head on the center line and it's just like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? So that scares me, especially with someone like Lucas Almeida, who comes out hot. He comes out throwing, gauntlets at you. But the thing with Lucas Almeida is it's kind of the same thing. There's some moments in time in the round where like he's got good head movement, he's moving off the set, and then all of a sudden he goes right back and he puts his head on their center line. So it's like these are two guys that are just there to be hit. You know what I mean? So I honestly wouldn't mind this. I understand why Aswell is the favorite a little bit, a slight favorite, but if Lucas Almeida was the favorite, I wouldn't be like, bro, Lucas Almeida is the favorite. Like,
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm going to pick Aswell just because I think Aswell does throw a little bit more volume. I think he does have the ability to kind of push forward a little harder than Lucas Almeida does. I think the one thing about Lucas Almeida is that when things are going great for him, like when he's loading up on his shots and he's landing, they're great. But there's a lot of times where you could see this guy, he throws everything with leverage and power and he's missing. And when you miss and when you're swinging at air, that gets you a lot more tired than landing your shots. Anybody who's boxed or everyone who's done any kind of martial arts know, like when you're missing, when you're swinging at air, that just kills your gas. And one thing, he just loads up and loads up and loads up and loads up. And if he's landing shots on you, great. But if he's not, as that fight gets more tired and more old, Aswell can kind of, if he knows what he's doing, he can kind of march him down a little bit and just have better optics, just have better optics in the fight. So I'm going to go Aswell, but no conviction.
The over is, it's within range because I do think it's going to go over, but at the same time, I don't know if I put a lot of the totals I was looking at for possible parlay pieces as well, like with the Ramos, because I don't want to trust any of these money lines. But honestly, like Mike, even the totals, if you, I don't know if you took a gander at these totals up and down the card, like I feel like they're just as untrustworthy. Even the big chalked up ones in women's fights, which we'll get to, like I don't even trust those for legs. That being said, what I am more confident on than a pick in this fight, Mike, is that this could easily be a split decision fight, man. Easily, whether it has a right to be or not, by the way, because we're in Brazil, so it could be when it has no right to be. But honestly, from the stylistic analysis, like I could see this being a close fight. Michael Aswell got the win, but I don't think he felt like he impressed. He's going to feel the pressure to perform in Brazil. Obviously, Almeida's in a pressure spot to win. And there's a lot of these pressure spots on this card where it's like you also have to factor that in, where it's like, yeah, maybe stylistically they could finish each other, but when you have fighters in certain positions where they really got to prove themselves, they're on shaky legs, they need a win. I don't know how confident you want to be that you're going to get the most confident version of them. And if you don't get the most confident version of them, well, that's over city oftentimes the way that translates in the gambling terms, folks. I'm going to actually go with the dog here. Even though I feel like, even though Almeida has some cheeky guillotines, not like the other fighter that confused him for, but he does have some cheeky guillotines. You got to remember as well, he does train with really good grappling coaches like Daniel Pineda, who's like a guillotine master. So I don't think he's going to get caught with any of those. And because of that, I feel like the grappling's a wash, and what we get is like a 15-minute close striking match. Like one guy could finish the other. And I would probably lean more toward Aswell with a slight more finishing upside, just because we've seen Almeida with his clock clean. You know what I'm saying? But outside of that, he's a pretty durable scrapper, man. So competitive fight either way. Don't hate the Aswell pick. Don't even hate him as a favorite. I just can't be confident enough, and I need some dogs here. So yeah, close fight. Give me Almeida. Don't be surprised to see this fight going to split in my round robin.
All right, awesome.
All right, next fight. We'll go to the prelims, folks. Cutting down this pretty fast. It's actually one of the fights, though, I'm most excited about on the card. And it's a playable fight, but I don't know if I want to play it because I'm excited about it. And the analysis, well, it's close, right? We got Jafel Filho, who opened as the favorite, now is your underdog, roughly. Minus 100. It's kind of coming even money with Clayton Carpenter, who opened as a dog, now minus 120. Your slight favorite for Carpenter. A little Call of Duty Zombies audio gif that I just sparked in your guys' head, hopefully. Over 2.5 rounds, minus 165. Under 2.5 rounds, plus 145. So Filho is a really good jiu-jitsu guy. We actually got him at a good price on a line flip like this, Mike. I think last time he opened as a slight favorite, people want to fade him, and we're like, this guy is not the truth. He's not the next Chucky Olives or anything like that, but this guy's better than the line indicates. We saw some stylistic edges. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. I believe we both picked him. And when you go back to watch that fight, even though he fought a bad fight, he was arguably just one. There was really one key exchange in round 3, I believe, that decided the fight. And again, and I also had a flyer on a Filho by decision at like plus like 440, because like not only were people arguing, remember, Mike, they were like, there's no way this fight's going the distance. And I'm like, no, it's going over. And I almost cashed both of those if it wasn't for just one exchange, which I know is the story of my betting career. A loss is a loss. But that being said, I'm high on the Carpenter side too. I actually took Carpenter. It wasn't confident. Like, I didn't play him straight up. I think maybe I just threw him in a round robin, like if that. But I did take him as a flyer against Tagir Ulanbekov, because I thought maybe he could either, God forbid, neutralize the grappling or club him and, club and pound or club and sub maybe even or whatever. The guy's, I think he's really talented, well-trained, comes out of that MMA lab team. But this is a tough one to pick, Mike. What are your, before I give out, the side I'm leaning toward, Mike, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, super close fight. I'll make mine pretty quick just because, when I first, before I even broke it down, I looked at it, I was like, wow, this is a really good fight. And then when I was breaking it down, I was like, I got to find the smallest of nuances to see like what is going to lean me towards one way. Because both of them, not that they're very similar, but they do have somewhat similar approaches in some ways. And the one thing I just kept going back to is how smooth Fialho is. I just look at him as the smoother fighter, the more fluid fighter, the guy who kind of changed things together and it just looks right. Where Carpenter is he's in there, he's doing things and he's like a dog, but it is kind of choppy. Like some of the things that he does, he'll go from one thing to another and it's just kind of choppy, where Fialho is just so fluid. Like I think he's underrated fluid. Like people don't appreciate how fluid his movements are. So that's ultimately what made me lean towards Fialho. Like I said, Carpenter makes things happen. Fialho chains things together very well. And I'm not talking chain wrestling. I'm talking about his approach, his attacks, on the feet. And it just, everything kind of has a rhyme and a reason to it. So it just, from a rhythmic style, I just think Fialho's the side. So I'm going to go Fialho.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That's the side I was leaning toward as well, but it's not super confident because I do believe that Carpenter can have big moments. And then I don't want to get too tinfoil hat or whatever. But again, if it does come down to, Fialho winning majority of the round, but Carpenter having moments, those are tricky to adjudicate no matter how you cut it. And again, Mike, not to harp on the point, but you're right. We're in Brazil. Who's going to be getting the louder pops, even for things that aren't necessarily criteria friendly? They might make a position advancement even more. The crowd's roaring, whatnot, right? So, I think Fialho probably. I give him the slight edge on the ground. I actually give Carpenter a slight edge just because of the moment potential on the feet. Not that it's a big, difference from fluidity or striking skill level, so to speak, or anything like that. Because again, great points on Fialho that I obviously agree on. But yeah, man, this is a tough one. I'm going Fialho, and even though I like him and there's plus money, again, like this isn't one where I'm like, even the few dogs I'm picking, I'm not running to the betting window, and I feel crazy for it, but maybe this is what they call discipline. I don't know. Is that what this is supposed to be?
Yeah, well, you have to be. We said it in a couple shows before. 365 days. We have no break. There's no reason to go hard on every card.
Absolutely. Perhaps there could be another half-hearted dog, even though that's not really half-hearted. I should say that. I don't want to compare these next two fights. But do we have a live dog in this next fight, Mike? We got Vitor Petrino versus Thomas Jefferson Petersen, baby. Petrino, former light heavyweight, now up at heavyweight, I believe his second stint now, minus 330. Comeback on Thomas Jefferson Petersen. Looking like he is on my diet with all that salt retention there in that photo. Plus 260, over 1.5, minus 200. I can tell Mike's shaking his head right now, even though I can't see him. Under 1.5, plus 175. Mike, who do you got? You got the Dan Tom doppelganger with the wrong pigmentation, or the right pigmentation with the transitioning bod, let's say, so to speak, the transitioning heavyweight bod.
Well, here's what I'll say about this fight. Petrino, I could trust him as far as I could throw him, and I can't throw him very far. Yes. I just don't trust this guy. I mean, listen, there's one thing about aesthetics and stuff like that and looking the part, but you also got to play the part. Maybe he does come out. Maybe he comes out and he completely plays the part here. But when you're in a position like Petersen is, where I look at him like Peter McNeely. I don't know if you guys probably don't know
Peter McNeely.
Right, but he's Peter McNeely. And I'm not even talking about the way he looks. I'm talking about the way he fights. Like, when you know you can't beat somebody's skill sets, when you know that you're not as athletic and you're not as explosive, or you just don't have the real hardcore skill set to really beat somebody, you need a Peter McNeely mindset to win those fights. You need to just not care. Like, you just need to not care and just go, get out of the house and go make something happen. And Petersen is that guy. Like, he's that guy that will just go in there and sell out. Like, he will just go. He will not try to play this like cautious game with you. And he's going to go in there and he's going to just do what he wants to do. And if he gets sparked out cold or loses, he's going to lose. But if he starts getting success with certain things that he's doing, he might be able to adhere to it. So listen, I've seen worse dogs. I've seen a lot of worse dogs in my time than this fight with Petersen. And I don't know why I think, but I have a feeling. I have like this weird feeling that Petersen's going to edge out this fight. And if he loses this fight, it's going to be like, you're going to look at Petrino like, really? Like, you fucking went to the cards with this guy and it was like actually close going, deep, or this guy, you let this guy stay in the fight. So it's either going to be that, or maybe Petersen gets robbed on the cards. Like, maybe it's the total Brazil lean where, like, dude, that's close fight, but 29-28 Petersen maybe. And then they give it to Petrino. But for the sake of the show, like, I see a world where Petrino loses this fight. So I'll take a swing on Petersen.
You know what? I'm glad to see you take the swing, and I totally agree with you. I think the low key, most obvious outcome here is going to be a robbery scorecard for Petrino by decision. But I'll tell you what, even if that's what happens, you post a number like plus 700 Petersen by decision, and even if that loses in a close fight, I'm fine with it. For those numbers?
Well, I could see, you know what I could see? I could see Petrino coming in, like, really overlooking him, trying to put it on him in the first round, and then getting tired. And then all of a sudden, Petersen just starts putting that sloppy body on him and his weight on him. And who knows? You imagine he gets him out of there, like, because he's exhausted. Like, I could see that happening too.
Right. Here's the dynamic. Petersen can absolutely be finished, correct? However, the problem is, though, if he doesn't, Petrino has shown that he can absolutely not adjust.
It actually could be a live bet if it gets out of the first round.
100%
for Petersen.
Yeah, I might be looking to live bet Petersen, and then maybe my round robin, I put the Petersen by decision. That pre-flop big number, right? That you can't get live.
Yeah,
you just put it in some low exposure fun bullshit. Because again, you shouldn't have serious money on this card, much less this kind of a heavyweight fight, folks. But if you are and you are trying to have fun, you could do a lot worse than those numbers. I think those are the numbers you look at there. All right, last five. Let's knock these out. That was for Thomas Jefferson Petersen. He really should come out looking like Pawtucket Pat, and with a bunch of hot black chicks with him. That would be awesome. Just go full Thomas Jefferson, baby. By the way, real quick, Peter McNeely reference. Mike, I grew up watching boxing, particularly early Tyson and Julio Cesar Chavez fights in the early '90s. That was my introduction to combat sports, right? So I remember being like an 8-year-old kid watching that pre-fight package, and remember McNeely running with his Akitas, and I remember being a kid going, man, even as a kid, I was like, man, I think those Akitas got a better shot than beating Mike than Peter McNeely does.
Dude. Did you remember the press conference with Tyson?
Yes.
When he read the poem, and then when he was backstage before he walked out, he's like, "This one's for Snubby."
Dude,
remember
people like
Curly?
I'm getting chicken skin. You mentioned in this stuff. This was the UFC embeddeds and countdowns.
What did he say? What did he say in his poem? He's like, and on October with Tyson, I'm gonna wrap him in my cocoon.
Oh yeah, something like that. I thought he thought Snuffy. Anyways,
no, backstage when they interviewed him before the fight, they're like, "How you feeling right now?" It's Jim Gray, and he's like, "This one's for everybody in Massachusetts, Curly and Snubby."
Snubby, okay, I thought it was Snuffy. Snubby, yeah.
That's
fucking
Snubby
from Mass. Peter McNeely. Oh, that's a great reference there. All right, I had to chat that one. All right, let's push on. We got big women's favorites here. We got Irina Alekseeva facing Beatrice Mesquita. Say that 2 times fast. All right, big odds here, of course. We got Mesquita minus 600. Alekseeva, that is a scary looking profile picture there. It's like a horror movie, something there. Plus 400, over 1.5 minus 150, under 1.5 plus 130. So yeah, you're not really getting any women's decision big chalk here because they're at least being admitted with the trappiness of this one as opposed to another one we'll talk about shortly. I don't got much to say about this one though, Mike. This is going to be a fight where I will be, not picking the Russian Ronda, so to speak. I believe that's her nickname, right? I'll be picking the big favorite, but what the heck do you do with these numbers, Mike? What do you do with this fight? This is going to be a sloppy freaking fight.
Yeah, I don't. I listen. I'm going with the Brazilian. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, when you look at her credentials, she's very high pedigree in grappling, good submissions. But you got to worry about her wrestling. You know, you do. You got to worry about her wrestling. Like we've seen it before. We've seen these people with this high pedigree grappling. They can't get it to the ground. It's no good if you can't get it to the ground. You got to have wrestling behind you. Then when you look at Alekseeva, for whatever she is, she does have a sambo background. She can possibly keep this fight on the feet. And then you got to wonder is how is her striking? Like, is she going to be able to stand for 15 minutes if it does stand for 15 minutes? So this is a fight where, like I said, it's you got to be careful with these fights. Sometimes the numbers don't tell the whole tale. You really got to look at the matchup. I'm going to go with the Brazilian here. I'm going to say that she does have success getting it to the ground. But I'll tell you one thing: if she does not get this to the ground, and Alekseeva is able to shuck a few takedowns and keep it on the feet, you're going to see that live line start to dwindle. So, obviously, I'm going to lean with the one who has an ace in her pocket, and that's Mesquita.
Absolutely. And before I move on, I just want to add something that, we're trying to keep it quick on these, but I did see these girls fight. I actually covered Mesquita's LFA fight, her second to last one. I was there live, and that one more so. If you look, it's won by a legal up kick, but it's if you watch the kind of the and you can't control what your opponent does. I'm not trying to blame her for it. I'm just saying that it's not as high level as you think, folks. And I look at the sloppiness of Russian Ronda, and I could absolutely see some foul-y, weird crap coming in, and these weird things happening. I mean, not to get hung up, but how many cards in recent history have we seen? At least once a card we're seeing, some kind of weird fuckery between the fighters, and then you're having to depend on the ref to properly adjudicate, which doesn't happen and can cost you money. Jake Matthews, right? We're seeing that a lot, and I get a hardcore feeling on this fight for that. So another reason to probably not be too invested. Let's go to the next fight here. Moving it on down, we got Simon Oliveira versus Lucas Rocha versus Stuart Nicoli. Lucas Rocha versus Stuart Nicoli. Now this one, I'm definitely drawn on not blanks. I mean, I'm familiar with Lucas Rocha, minus 125. Of course, come back on Stuart Nicoli, plus 105, over 2.5 rounds, plus 135, under 2.5 rounds, minus 155. Again, I don't disagree with the favorite. And you look at, these guys' fighting styles, I could totally see why this one is favored to go under. I'm going to go with Lucas Rocha there, but I don't have too strong opinions on this one. Even though the finish seems, obvious. And again, his last loss being finished against a guy who I just told you I'm really high on, Clayton Carpenter. I don't hold that too much against him. So it's more just a wait and again, I said there's a lot of wait and see spots. We want to see how these fighters are looking. And even if they make sense in their line, it doesn't necessarily mean I want to rush out and play them. This is another one of those spots. I got Rocha here. What do you got, Mike?
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go to Nicole. I think this actually can be a pretty fun fight.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the sometimes you get these fights. You're like, who the hell are these guys? They're both on losses, but they match up well. I think this is going to be kind of like a high octane fight where, somebody can find the spot on the other fairly easily. You know what I mean? So if I look at this fight and I'm saying, well, high octane, lower level MMA, both guys are still trying to find their footing. Give me the guy with the dog money. So, even though I'm not going to the window to bet the fight,
right.
From a pick perspective, in a fight where I do see similarities in the guys and the pressure and the way these guys, both their backs are against the wall, not against the wall, but they're both, coming in up with L's, one to Aguilar, one to Carpenter. I'll lean with the dog here. So I need some dog. So this seems like a good spot to grab them.
And that's sound logic, and again, I'm not talking shit. Half the things I throw shade on, it's to myself because I am no better, folks. I've done this myself, but it's so easy to fall in the trap where it's with Luque or Figueiredo. Are you kidding me? A former world champion at that plus money? Give me that plus money. And you can make those arguments. I've made them before. I'm not hating on it. But if we're being honest, folks, we're actually trying to pick dogs that have a chance of winning. That's the logic you want. You want to look at fights that are going to be close on paper, and if one side's getting decent plus money, those are your dog flyers right there. Those are your air quote value dog flyers. If we're really being honest.
Yeah.
And again, not that you want to go play them, and not that Mike is, or I would, by the way, but just as far as even just picking these go. Let's go to this one a little more straightforward. Like this fight, Valter Walker versus Mohammed Usman, the muscle waddle baby, Mo Usman. Valter Walker, Johnny Walker's brother, minus 370. Kamaru Usman's brother, Mohammed Usman, plus 280. The comeback on him, over 2.5 rounds, plus 135, under 2.5. minus 155. They are expecting this one not to be a heavyweight slot fest, which is rare for a Mo Usman fight. But again, it's not so much about his side of the equation. The Valter side makes it volatile for all sides. I do like Valter. It's a big number by a heavyweight. I did consider him pairing him up with Ricardo Ramos, which was maybe just plus money or maybe just minus money. Either way, I don't know if I really felt too comfortable with it, so I didn't pull the trigger on it. But he was a consideration, as sad as that is to say, because I'm not very high on Mo Usman, who, shout out to the heavy hands guys. They say he looks so muscly, Mike, that I don't even know if he could throw a straight punch if he wanted to, because it's just the muscles are just like, he's just like waddly, and they're like not allowing a straight line because he's so contoured. More than he probably should be. He's probably a 205 or under there. Like, what do you think about Mo Usman? More importantly, what do you think about this fight, buddy?
Yeah, I actually saw Usman fight. I was at the Apex Center to see him fight Mick Parker.
Yes.
And I was just like sitting there, and I think I told you about this.
Yeah.
I was like, I literally wanted to rip off my shirt and say, I want to go in there and fight. Like that's how bad it looked. It looked like I was like, what am I fucking watching here? Like, I was like, dude, I'd jump in there right now. And he's just not very good. Here's my issue with Valter Walker, though, is like, he loves leg locks, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy who loves leg locks. So, like, Usman, despite what he is, dude's big, dude. The guy's big. The guy's got big legs. The guy's got powerful legs. Like, what if he can't get? What if he goes after one of these leg locks and he doesn't get it and he gets trapped on the bottom? You know what I mean? Like, he does seem to really like going for him, and he has a lot of confidence going for him. And one thing about Usman is he's not good. But what happens if Walker drops down and goes for a leg lock and realizes, like, this dude's legs are powerful, this dude is big, I can't extend his leg, or I can't do this, and then he just kind of drops on him. He just kind of drops on him, puts his weight on him, and now he's on top. So that's my one fear in this fight. I'm gonna pick Walker, but I keep thinking about that. Like, I keep thinking about, like, eventually he's going to fail. Eventually he's going to fail with these leg locks. They're not always going to work out. He's not always going to catch them, whether they're slippery, whether they're sweaty and his hand slips, or you're getting a guy who's got enough of leg strength to kind of like push out of it. And then what happens when you have a heavyweight on top of you? You don't got to be that good. Yep. You just got to have weight. You got to have power. You got to drop elbows. And you could finish them off. So there is a world where Usman kind of drops down during a leg lock situation where he lands on top of him, maybe early in the round, and just starts laying hammers on him. Like, it's a really realistic possibility. I'm going to go with Walker just because I saw Usman fight live and he is so terrible. But I think Walker really has to be careful. He can't be thinking that he's, a lightweight in there that he could keep going for these leg locks and achieving them.
Yeah. It's going to burn him. Absolutely. That is a great flag to mention. I don't think he quite gets burned here. I'm going to pick Walker here. Not a lot of places where I would want action. I imagine the sub is going to be pretty nerfed up, right? For Valter Walker by submission. What's it currently listing? We got Walker by submission. Yeah, plus 180. I don't even know if that can really make the round robin. If it does, it's going to have to be a 4-legger round robin. So I don't know about that. We'll see if I have anything on that card. Probably not. Let's go to this next fight. Julia Pilastri versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Team 1985, baby. Not too many 1985ers. My fellow 1985ers, 40. Not too many of us lasting around, but Karolina is. I got appreciation for her. Minus 450 for Pilastri. Plus 325 for Kowalkiewicz. Minus 425 for the over 2.5. Almost matching the favorite number. I don't know if that's lazy numbers making or sensible numbers making with the under with big plus money there. I actually think that under is the most attractive thing, Mike. I think that there's low key. I know it's, women's fights go the distance and whatnot. But Pilastri's pretty physical, pretty violent for a woman, for her weight class. I don't want to make that sound terrible. I'm just speaking bluntly and honestly here. And even in her last fight, which is a decision loss to a good fighter who he looked even better last time out, part of the reason why I tried to fade Godinez was because Pilastri was way more competitive than what those scorecards, you read the result, if you actually go watch the fight, she shows a lot of attributes that you would like in a fighter you are backing. However, it's really hard to back a fighter at that big of price. So again, I actually maybe look at the unders because Kowalkiewicz, as much as I like her, not as much as all the creeps in the Instagram comments. Maybe not as much as she gets older, but her, Marina Moroz, all those Eastern European chicks, y'all have like the creepy like comments like Mamishka, marry me, yes, cross emoji, please. That used to be one of my favorite things until it just got too creepy to do, was to read the comments. But yeah, as much as I like Kowalkiewicz, not that much. And more importantly, Mike, Kowalkiewicz, her durability, and she had low-key power, which was like kind of like, and clenchability was like what got her through her early days. However, those abilities, people have closed the gap, surpassed, and her durability, like oftentimes with older fighters, I don't know if it's quite there, you know? So again, it kind of makes me look at that under. Enough to play it? Probably not. But I am going to pick Pilastri. What do you got here, Mike?
Yeah, you know, I was never a fan of KK as far as her looks. You know what I mean? I never thought she was too attractive. But as a fighter, like, how do you not like her? I mean, she's a sweetheart. I mean, she really, really is. She's a sweetheart of a person. And the one thing that made her, when she was younger, she's got a very young woman's game. You know, she was never like this huge knockout artist or this crazy grappler, but she threw volume. And it was crazy because you would watch her fights and be like, it was kind of boring. But then you would look at her punch stat, you're like, holy shit, dude, like she threw a lot of volume. And then it seems like as her career went on, what really killed her, because she fought everybody, was she just really was not a good grappler. Like she kept her on her feet and she'll hang in with you, but she would be behind and she wasn't great. And then as her career went on, like later, just the last couple of years, all of a sudden now her grappling, it was like, wow, all right, she's got a little grappling at least now. But I just think it's a little too late, like in her career. I mean, she's not throwing the volume she once did. And not man or woman. It's just, this is a young man's game, woman's game. And I think that's where she's going to fall behind. I think that, like I said, she doesn't have stopping ability like hardcore. It's not like she's going to go to the third round and it's 0-2 going into the third round. You're like, all right, well, she's still in the fight because she's got crazy power. She's got crazy. She don't have that. She has to win the fight for 15 minutes in order to win this fight. And I just don't see it happening.
Yep, absolutely. And again, not that I couldn't see the fight going for 15 minutes, by the way, but you know, when I'm looking for something to potentially, even a big chalk number to parlay the -175 for Ricardo Ramos to, this is too big of a number. And again, for the reasons I said, I don't even know how much we can trust a women's over, which is sad to say. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be taking too much for this fight. Let's go to the last fight. Lastly, but not leastly, we got Simon Oliveira, who is the fighter I was alluding to that I guillotines all the time and I mistake for Lucas Almeida. Simon Oliveira, of course, takes on Luan Lacerda, making a it hasn't been seen since like what 2.5 years or whatever. But I don't know if we got the graphic for this one. Otherwise, I can pull up Luan Lacerda as he should be the favorite in the 2-1 range here. Luan Lacerda, sorry, let me see. -265 plus 200. Simon Oliveira. So Luan Lacerda actually opened as a -200 favorite, and I get it because I'm not high on Simon Oliveira. He jumps guillotines too much. There it is. Over 1.5, -140, under 1.5, plus 210. Totals feel like, another totals that feel like a trap for a different reason, right? I don't know how confident you could be on either side there. That those numbers basically tell you that the odds makers themselves don't know where it's going. Kind of like when they put, the decision, knockout, and submission all in the plus 300 range. It means they don't know either, folks, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of a pick a side and ride, but they're giving you bad sides. You've got an underdog that's not worth riding with, regardless of the number, in my opinion. Obviously, there's a context to where you would take them, but this ain't it. And at the same time, even though I really do like this favorite, I do like Luan Lacerda. I am classic at making that mistake, Mike, where I value guys too much off of a loss. And even though this seems like a bounce back spot, he's with a good camp, Nova and Yao, and he's got fellow teammates, Nova and Yao teammates within the same weight class. This guy, Jafel Filho, for one, right? Competing on the same card. It's down in Brazil. You got all these things that show this should be the bounce back spot for Lacerda. He's got good skills everywhere. You could say maybe, the volume on a perfect day, perhaps, Simon Oliveira can output more, and I'm not looking at the numbers, folks. So don't tell me I'm wrong using those, not because I don't care to be told I'm wrong. That's fine. But it's because those stat numbers are bullshit. Please don't make me go into another rant why most stats are bullshit. That most people go off of that is not talking about the stats that I give you on this here show. Like Southpaw stats, rematch stats, which we don't have too much of for this card. And I'll clean those up on my Substack. But for this fight, Mike, I am taking Luan Lacerda. And man, it makes no sense. I would deserve to lose it if I pulled the trigger, but I just put him up next to Ricardo Ramos. That's plus 121. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a stupid play. Shouldn't do it. But I am going to pick Luan Lacerda. What's your pick? What's your feel for this fight, Mike?
I don't really got a big feel for this fight. 0-5 between the two of them under UFC umbrella. Like, I mean, when you look at Oliveira, he's 0-3. Hasn't really, gotten his back off the wall. Then you look at Lacerda, he had a little bit of break to 0-2. It's like, where do you really go with this? You know what I mean? When I look at it on film, I see all the paths for Lacerda to win this fight. Obviously, you got guys that are on this card that are in his camp. So I'm going to lean him, but I got no conviction on this fight.
Yeah, and if I do end up playing Lacerda, I just want to state this: I deserve to lose that bet. But he's going to be my pick here, and we ain't got much to choose from. So let's recap what we did choose from. We actually getting out of here under an hour and a half. We got 10 with the 10 minutes to go, Mike. So let's recap. We'll recap and give out the Dayton's dog of the week. I don't know if we'll have a DLP parlay for you guys this week. And to be honest, I'm not even sure if we can really put out an official Benji Boy dog of the week, because the only dog we aligned on was Thomas Jefferson Petersen.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to do that.
Have him go out there representing my Benji Boy, but he will be the spiritual Benji Boy dog of the week by default. But yeah, folks, forgive us. We're not exactly two and not that we're telling you to put your money, and not that people are running out or any of that stuff. But we're just being real with you guys. We're not too enthused or too hard confident, but we gave you research from top to bottom as per usual. So let's recap. But before we do, Dayton, do you have your dog of the week? And can we I think it's more fun for us to guess, right, Mike? Can we venture our guesses before Dayton gives it to us? So maybe Mike, you want to go first with your guess?
I'm going to say he's taking I don't want to say he's going to play it safe. I'm for some reason I think he's going to pick Figueiredo. I don't know why.
That would be my choice. I'm going to go with the ladies. I'm going to say he's going to go with I'm going to say he's going to go with the old CF dot model, and he's going to go with Kovalevich. I think he's going back to looks. Dayton, we're probably both wrong, right? What do you got?
Okay, well, first off, Pilastri's got the looks in that one. And to be honest, boys, I'm kind of in the same spot. I was looking at Thomas Petersen just like shits and giggles.
Let's do it.
But
Peter McNeely, let's go.
I couldn't do it. So no Dayton's dog this week. I just couldn't do it.
No Dayton's dog. All right. That's fair. Listen, that's fair. We got to respect that, because we got no dog parlay of the week. We got to respect that.
You know what? Peter McNeely is the spiritual dog for everyone this week. How about that, folks?
Yeah, of course.
Great nickname, Mike, by the way. We are referring to Thomas Jefferson Petersen as Peter McNeely now. Thomas Peter McNeely. There we go. All right, let's recap it from top to bottom, folks, and before we get out of here, and we can plug whatever we need to off the top and get out. Thank you guys. Like, comment, share. Appreciate all that stuff. It's definitely felt. So please take 100% of genuine from our gratitude there. We are opposite technically on the main, but we both are, not exactly giving each other crap for our pick here. Well, we will give you guys a head-to-head though, and kind of talk about that payoff, because
that's our head-to-head.
Make this the head-to-head top. Okay, why not? Let's do it. Even though I got money on both sides of the equation, and we're admittedly not super confident, the official pick is me, Oliveira, and Mike Gamrot. So that'll be our head-to-head there. That'll be nice and friendly. And we got we're both taking Montel Jackson, the natural lightweight, in my opinion, over Figueiredo. We're both taking natural middleweight in a welterweight fight, while Álvarez over Vicente Luque. We are split on this one, but again, we're not too confident either way. Mike's got Diniz. I've got Pinto. Why Pinto? Why not? We're both picking Ricardo Ramos. I'm trying to find something to parlay him, and I'll probably lock it in here shortly, even though it would be stupid to do so. And then because I got to cover, my round robin and round flyer action, right, with some stupid chalk somewhere. And we're both taking no, actually we're split here. I'm taking Lucas Almeida, the dog, and Michael is taking Michael Aswell. There we go, Mike on Mike. We're both taking Jafel Filho, but this is a really close type fight that we're very excited just to watch in general, right? Versus Clayton Carpenter. We're both taking the dog, and Dayton's on the dog too. So the spiritual dog, Thomas Jefferson Petersen, Peter McNeely himself. We're all taking Mesquita over Russian Ronda. No surprise there. Not that we're confident, but we're split on this one. I'm taking the slight favorite in Rocha. Mike's on the dog and Nicoli. We're both taking Valter Walker over Mo Usman. We're both taking Julia Pilastri over Carolina Kowalkiewicz, as I'm being outed for my weird tasting girl, which I will fully own, by the way. This is no surprise for anybody that knows me. And we are both taking Luan Lacerda over Simon Oliveira. All right, Mike. Before we get to your plugs and stuff, head to head, that was one of the few things I won last week. And we made it so you have to watch the movie Irreversible. I would give you a hard copy, but I don't know if you can. I don't even know if you can find it. Let me know.
I'll find it.
Okay. If you can find it, folks. If you want to take the challenge with him, Mike will try to give us a real short review next week if we got time, like we do on this show. If we're good with time, as we're going to be trying to be due from here on out, folks. And we'll figure out another. We'll figure out another bet for this one. But you guys can feel free in the comments what you want to see for this head-to-head bet. I got Oliveira. Mike's got Gamrot. So we're chalking it back up. We're re-racking the board. Hit us in the comments with your bets. You can find my picks over at Dan Tom MMA on Fight Day and all social platforms, on the artist formerly known as Twitter. The day before over on my Substack, I posted all up there for you. But Mike, where can they find you outside of the Madlab MMA, where the real information's at? But anything you want to say, plug, get it out there, buddy.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Madlab MMA. You go to the site, themadlabmma.com. We do everything, football, boxing, MMA. Obviously, we're not really like one of these sites where we're just giving you things. We give you full breakdowns. We're more of an analytical site, to be honest with you. Football, we've actually been crushing. I had a monster week last week in football. I only missed one bet on the whole slate. So that was a big week. Nice. I needed it because I started off cold in NFL, but we have a great community, guys. Just come over and check it out, themadlabmma.com.
Yeah, you got some great people who have graced our chats and comments here. Good community. We love it. So thank you, guys. Wishing you the best as always. Thanks again for the likes, shares, all that stuff helps. Good luck in your picks and plays, and always protect your neck.